Well, thanks for staying with us on The Real Story. We all know the challenges the pandemic has and is bringing to our economy. The numbers do tell the story here. Check out the unemployment rate in Connecticut, 7.9%. That is one of the highest in the country. Almost 140,000 people on unemployment. It's a good chunk of our workforce. But our next guest, columnist Red Jahncke, says the unemployment rate is only half of the story and that we are in a full-blown jobs crisis. He says almost 300,000 workers have dropped out of our workforce or are currently unemployed. That's 15%, according to him, of Connecticut's pre-pandemic workforce. Jahncke says it's going to have devastating effects on Connecticut and our economy for years to come. So how did he get those numbers and what needs to happen to turn the horse around? Joining us this morning, Red Jahncke is back on the program. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Jen. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Glad to have you. All right, so you wrote this op-ed. It appeared in several of Connecticut's newspapers, online as well. So explain to me how you got here and, what that missing piece that the unemployment number isn't telling.
Jen, I think you and your lead laid it out very nicely. The public and the news feed generally focuses on the unemployment rate, which is the highest in the nation. We're tied with New Mexico for that distinction. That is, as you said, only half the story. If you add in the collapse of our workforce from round numbers 1.9 million in February 2020, pre-pandemic, to where we are today, which is round numbers 1.75 million workers, 150,000 people have dropped out of the workforce. That's alarming. As you said, the combination of dropouts and unemployed is round numbers 300,000. And as a percent of that February workforce, that's about 15%. That's an astounding and alarming number. And it's not only astounding and alarming in and of itself, we're in last place. The next worst state is Hawaii at 11%. Now, in terms of economic rankings, this state, we're accustomed to coming in last. But in this case, we're not only last, we're last by a country mile. This is astounding.
So what's going on here? Where did our workforce go? What's the cause of these dropouts?
Well, the dropouts, first a little bit of the background on why our high unemployment rate. We shouldn't be that high, and we're that high because unemployment benefits are three factors. One, they're as widely available as you can conceive. Coverage was extended to so-called gig workers during the pandemic. That's self-employed and independent contractors. The requirement that you be looking for a job was waived, understandably, during a pandemic. And the generosity of the benefits is incredible. On top of normal benefits, the federal government is funding today a $300 a week supplement. That's over $15,000 a year. To me, that strikes me as an offer you can't refuse. If you lost your job, why aren't you taking those benefits? And yet we have 150,000 people who've dropped out of the workforce.
Is that going to become more apparent, Red, though, when those federal benefits reduce?
Well, I think the unemployed ranks will go down. But more to the point about dropouts is, why did people drop out of the workforce, i.e., lose their job and not apply for unemployment benefits? If you are receiving unemployment benefits, you are included in the workforce statistically. These 150,000 people who dropped out of the workforce are not collecting unemployment benefits. That's refusing an offer you can't refuse. It seems irrational. So what are the possible explanations for irrationality? One, a large component may be older workers who have taken this shock as a time that they've decided to retire. They're not going to seek another job. So with some integrity, they're not collecting unemployment benefits, which are meant to bridge you to your next job. That may be a good portion of the dropouts. Another, perhaps more likely explanation is these people have left the state. They've gone to greener pastures. And there is evidence on the other side. We're the departure location. There are 14 states that have grown their workforce since February 2020. So it confirms the idea that the notion that people have left this state because there are people appearing in 14 other states, new workers.
So, Red, what
Better explanation is people have left Connecticut.
What does Connecticut need to do? When you're looking at those numbers and you say it's alarming, what does Connecticut need to do to fix this?
Well, it's alarming because if our workforce has shrunk, it's mere mathematics and economics that our economy will shrink. You can't expect, 10% fewer workers to produce the same amount as produced pre-pandemic. What should we do about it? The first answer to that, quite honestly, is what should we have done about it? And that's the federal supplement should have been terminated in this state. About 25 states have terminated the 300, effective in June and early July. The unemployment rates in those states are on average 2% below the states that are continuing to pay it. Now, that's a solution that can no longer be pursued because you have to give a month's notice, and we're about a month and a week or 2 weeks away from the expiration of it. So this is an opportunity that Governor Lamont missed. He could have and he should have terminated it. He didn't. So he owns a large part of this problem. What should we do now? We should go directly to the state's most fundamental problem, which is we have overgenerous and underfunded state employee compensation. State employee compensation is the largest component of the state budget. There's no other category of expense that comes close. And state employees live a charmed existence. First, for about a decade, they have enjoyed a no layoff guarantee. So we've gone through the pandemic, and we just referenced that hundreds of thousands of state workers in this state lost their jobs. No state worker lost their job via a layoff. So the devastation in the private sector has been all that much worse. Secondly, the explanations of the state employee compensation problem, and again, our pension fund is somewhere amongst the 5 worst funded state pension funds in the nation.
Yeah, you are not the first person to point that out.
Yeah.
Red, we've run out of time, but just real quick, if someone wants to read your op-ed, where can they find it?
They can look on the Connecticut Examiner, the Day in London, any one of the Hearst newspapers. There are 8 of them.
Yep.
The Republican American, the Journal Inquirer. This is a story that, and to your credit, no one else is covering.
Well, we are glad to have you on the show this morning, Red, and we appreciate you breaking down what you wrote.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you. Well, that does it for us on The Real Story. If you want to watch these segments again, head to fox61.com. Thank you very much and have a good morning.